Hello and welcome to Charts and Darts for another scan of the Aussie 200. Today is Tuesday, the 2nd of June. The market was a little momentumless for most of the day. Obviously, we ranged down here. We closed just shy of 16 points, or just under 0.3%, closing at 5,835 points. Jumping into the charts just quickly, we can see obviously we had the bounce, and we're still sitting up above these moving averages. The interesting thing to see down here is on this RSI, as we've started to set highs, we've come back, we've had this little bit of a pullback, and we're sort of sitting in this range where we could continue easily to come higher to sort of work to the top of these ranges, or we could even start to roll over a little bit and head back towards the 50, find some support back down where these moving averages are looking like they could very well cross over one another very soon. Average true range, we're sort of still pointing down, so the ranges that we're sitting in, and our MACD indicator shows that we have had this level of green positivity in the market. As we're pushing through, we could very easily start to see it roll over and start to come down a little bit lower as these moving averages either start to be tested again as turned into support, breaking through resistance, and then coming back to turn into support. Jumping into the Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar's been pretty strong the last couple of days. We've had a real sense of positivity around a lot of currency, and as you can see, if you're a currency trader, this is on the daily, so it is quite a higher time frame, but you can see this moving average. As the volume has started to pick up, we're moving into the middle of these two moving averages. We'll just jump down into a 12-hour quickly. You can see it's sort of smack bang in the middle after crossing over here. Price was below, red, green on top, then we started to move, so anywhere around here would have been a good buy. 62 cents, and we're up at 68 now, so good little play if you're a currency trader. Again, we had a few sells popping up here on the RSI with these pivots. These kind of say to be wary that a change is probably imminent, but it's not necessarily a sell sign. That's for currency traders, but so it's a little bit more of a trader's playground. On the Aussie, we can see today we had a lot of movers like yesterday based in building and construction, engineering. We had Prenti Global, we had Domain Holdings, which is obviously working into the technology side of internet software and real estate, but big move. We've got some of the Westfield, so a lot of Westfield, like they do run supermarkets, but they are essentially a real estate or a property business. Another builder, Boral. So we've had quite a substantial move as these have been popping up. We can see the volume starting to pick up as it's coming in and getting above this 20 moving average. When these do cross over, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit of a pullback, volume step back in, and then we'll probably keep pushing on. As we go down a little bit, Centra Group, which is another one of these property supermarket holders, bingo. So we're talking industries, we're talking construction. We can see we've put in this cross on the EMA today on the daily. It's nearly setting up for a buy around these levels. Maybe we find a little bit of a pullback to come back towards these moving averages once they've crossed over and start to elevate and widen out. Another little tech play, a good one here is WiseTech after last week's pullback, which was quite substantial back down here. So we're talking 10% down to its low down here, maybe just shy of 18%. We've had a nice little bounce off that, but once again we can see the crossover here, 1, 2, 3 in line, and now the volume's starting to step in and come up towards getting in between these two moving averages. So we can see the volume down here on the bottom where it was below, it's come back up. Now we had a bit of selling in the last couple of days or last week, and now some buying stepping back in. I'm not going to go through the entire market, but as we scroll down, we can obviously see there's quite a lot of green here on these movers. We go down a little bit, Afterpay. Obviously been a little darling with its bounce down here. Look at this gap here, fly. Because in that same realm of this buy now, pay later, another holding company in Australia is ZipPay, or Zipco Limited. It was put into a trading halt as they were doing some raising. They've obviously been successful in their raising, and today it came back online and gapped up here I believe it was up nearly 30%. VWMA. Let's chuck it in here. 38%, 38.6%. So there you go. It's obviously quite a big move for a company after coming out of a trading halt. And you can see the size of their company down here, or the size of the volume that was traded today. So interesting little company. Set up here, closed on its high for the day. We're sitting basically in its year, near the highest for its year range, and it's definitely sitting up here looking like a buy. Not financial advice, obviously. We'll come back up to the bottom of these greens. Let's see what our little movers were. CSL, same deal, sitting in this technology, biotechnologies. It yeah, it was up, but it's definitely sitting on the bottom of its movers for today. We had a few non-movers that just sat on the sidelines. Things like Webjet have obviously had quite a big comeback. They've had a little bit of a pullback. This seem to be finding this range. I mean, with the restrictions and travel and whatnot, what's been announced to the public or announced for easing up for travel and restrictions or lessening of restrictions around Australia, it's obviously positive for them. Woodside Petroleum, seeing the oil, you can see they're sort of consolidating around here. I mean, could be looking like a setup for a buy very soon. Go a little bit further down, some of these red, we've got the banks having a little bit of a pullback, sitting up here on the top of their moving averages spot, so we can probably expect to see some consolidation around these levels as they start to either move higher or the banks start to work out what's going on with housing, with lending, and with a number of other things just in bank land. Ramsay Healthcare, see these health stocks looking really positive. Anywhere a pull back down on here, I could definitely see it to be setting up for a buy. We move back into these levels, start filling some of these gaps. These are on the daily. We'll jump on a 12-hour quickly. Yeah, really looking like could be a healthy sort of area to start accumulating or getting back in. Some of the miners had a bit of a pullback today as well. BHP back down to $35, but I mean, that's kind of saying buy. It looks, well, for this strategy anyway, which is an investor strategy with a long-term outlook. We're sort of talking 3 to 5 years, collecting dividends if these companies do pay dividends, which BHP obviously does. Some of the other ones like the banks, obviously after this coronavirus and this big drop, some dividends and some talk of dividend payments and reduction in dividends has been a talk, but with an outlook of 3 to 5 years, you could obviously, depending whether you're looking for yield or for capital growth, this could be really a good time to even start setting some smaller positions or entry-level positions to then either build upon over the coming years. And gold as well has had a bit of a pullback. You can see it had this massive run. Volume started to fall off just a little bit. Now we've come down. We found these moving averages. I wouldn't be surprised. See these crossover. We come back down and maybe have a pullback down. Yeah, low down around here somewhere. And this is an ETF, mind you. So this is just the gold ETF, which gives you a great entry or exposure to gold as a whole. Invacare. Funerals, they're starting to allow more people to go to funerals, and the industry has adapted in a number of ways as well. I think we mentioned this a little bit yesterday, just touching on digital application of some of these calling programs to allow funerals to be conducted both online and in person. Appen, another technology company, pushing along, seems to be finding this level up here. Can nearly even put a little support just in here. What's that? 30.75. Find this level. Scrolling down. Yeah, loser. This one, Avita Healthcare, had a little bit of a tear, but we can see it's kind of had this 1, 2, and it wasn't able to get back up to these levels. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see this as like the 1, 2, 3. Kind of got a double top here. We can see the wick forming just above these levels. I'll put a little one on here. What's that? 49.5 cents is probably going to be the resistance, but once we break that, I mean 50, I think 51 was the high for today, 51.5 or something for today. Quite easily see that turn from support, from resistance into support, and then keep moving. And then lucky last on the door, Cirrus Networks. I mean, again, moving along here, they kind of hasn't had the same momentum. I'll jump on the daily quickly. Yeah, it looks very similar to the 12-hour. Like, there's no real movement between. We'll chuck some volume in there. Yeah, volume's going down, price is going down, so it's kind of yeah, from these levels up here, it was sort of putting a sell in up here with this double top, with this double here. What are we looking at? Yeah, 2.6. I mean, yeah, for a tiny stock, but can obviously have quite big movements. I didn't touch on it yesterday, but just looking this morning, it was interesting to wake up and see Bitcoin. I know some of you think this stock is a little dull. This cryptocurrency is a little darling. Others have their own opinions on it, but you can see the volume. I'll check some volume. The VWMA, and we'll check some volume on here. Volume stepped in with quite a lot of selling, obviously, down to these lows down here. We've slowly had volume start to pick back up in some of these bigger days, but we had quite a bit of selling come in. But then waking up this morning to see Bitcoin pump back up and find this level here of $10,000, and now we're back above there, so we seem to be trading. We're wicked down into this level at the moment. We'll come back down, we'll jump on a 12-hour. Yeah, see, wick down into the 10,000 level. We'll jump into a 4-hour. Yeah, you see we sort of bounced off, found support down here and up. I wouldn't be surprised if we do come back down, come into these levels. Holding 10,000 is a psychological big round number. It's always played on this asset class, and it is highly speculative. So I mean, we're riding these Bollinger Bands right to the top now. I wouldn't be surprised if we pull back down, find this mean average being the pink line or the 20 moving average, and then start to move either sideways and then begin to push back up and test again, or we start to roll over and come back down to these 9,400 levels, somewhere around in here. We could even put a support and resistance zigzag just here. I'll jump back onto the daily just to see what lands. Yeah, so sort of just above here, basically on the wick of this previous day here. So that's it for today. We will keep looking at markets and seeing how they progress, but stay safe, stay well, happy trading. Cheers.